You see, Korn the band is actually really good.
They banned Korn?
No. The band, like the musicians.
Oh, I thought it was
a
illegal.
group of musicians that play music. Heavily quotationed on that word music there. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just that, you know, a lot of their stuff, whenever they're getting into their bakaka, all that, it kind of reminds me of that little crazy dude off of the Wild Thornberries. I don't know if you ever
the brother?
The little crazy brother that was like the Jungle Boy, and I was like, I'm like, hey, I love Korn.
It's Korn. Delicious.
Yeah, I love Freak on a Leash. That's their one song, right?
He is a freak on a leash.
That's exactly it, right?
Oh,
I had a girlfriend that was our song.
Freak on a Leash.
Alrighty
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, it was
Here
weird.
we go. Hey everybody, I'm Dane Holland, and I'm a spandex butterfly for life.
I am Austin Shazam Fiver, and I'll tell you what.
I'm Marcus Whitaker, the time-traveling trickster known as I Am Electric Man.
I'm Austin Tiny Zent, and Mr. King, I am still waiting on your email reply. You can go back to the Joe Hill episode and get my email address.
And he will, because he listens to Nerd It Through the Grapevine, a podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. And today, Austin's got some stuff he wants to talk about.
I like doing this podcast. I also like totals.
Okay,
I like
good,
totals.
good.
I don't
You
want
gotta
to.
you gotta get that out of the way.
I don't want to leave that, you know, without being said. But I do like totals. But I spend a lot of time.
You like what?
Totals.
Turtles.
Totals. Yes, totals.
Funny story, just right quick. My niece, when she was little, Allie, I love you, and you'll never hear this anyway.
No.
That's what she used to call her poops. She made turtles.
Good.
So
As you were.
You love turtles, yeah. That's it.
Hey, you know, as long as you're taking solid poops, you can name them animals. But if you're taking poops like what we do, those poor creatures. Kill me, please. I don't want to exist anymore. So anyway, my topic is just basically a breakdown of what I've been watching and investing all of my extracurricular time into, and whether I would recommend it or not. This is just a recommendation, honestly, because all the stuff that I've been watching here recently, I've been lucky enough to not stumble upon some goobs. You know, not like Game of Thrones where you get those kind of goobs. You know what I mean? But I'm talking like floppy show. Dang, that's still a thing.
Yeah, that's still a goob.
Still floppy.
Sorry.
Oops. Dang it.
Floppy,
Yeah, flops.
flaccid,
How
non-erect.
Oh. How about shows that aren't any good? I haven't run across those here
Sure.
recently whenever I've been watching them.
Yeah.
So several different streaming services that I've been on, Amazon, Netflix, HBO. Hulu hasn't really had anything to hold my attention besides Nashville, and I'm not getting into Nashville because that's too much, and that's not what I want to talk about. In case you don't know, I might as well tell you, Nashville is a soap opera that is not really shot like a soap opera, but it is exactly what it is. And it revolves around people in Nashville who write songs and instantly become famous because that's how it works in Nashville.
Once you move there, man, you're automatically a musical star.
I'm playing at the Bluebird Cafe. That's a holy grail of Nashville music. If I play at so you're telling me every time I play at the Bluebird Cafe, somebody that's a producer will see me and want my music.
Is it actually a cafe?
Might be a bar.
No.
Could have food.
Well, what qualifies as a cafe?
You gotta have coffee, yes?
Yes.
Because it's just another way to spell coffee. Caffey.
Caffey.
Caffey. Caffey.
That's what the little accent sign is for.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's not even what I want to talk about, and that's just where my brain went, and I don't like it because I love it. I love some soap operas, and I can't help it. And Nashville's catchy, but I'll talk about that on a later episode. Right now, Jupiter's Legacy. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend it. It is on a lot of different people's list.
It's
to
number one in
watch.
the USA right now, I think.
I think so. I've seen it bounce.
On the Netflix?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a great superhero story. I did not look up anything about the origins of it, or if it came from a comic book, or if it was a novel, or anything else like that beforehand. But I just know that based on the show alone, I would recommend it. I do enjoy it, and it is a great origin story / current timeline. I like the way that they do it. So I'm not going to spoil anything because it is a popular show. It is current and it is a recent release, but I will recommend it. And that brings me into my second one, which I've only watched a couple episodes of, but I've got a yearning deep within my soul now to watch more of it, and I can't wait. And that's Invincible.
That you just got finished watching the first episode
I was
before
watching
this podcast.
I was watching with you, and I feel the same.
Yeah, it got me. I mean, it got me really good.
Me too.
I just like how they mixed so many different superheroes from so many different places, like Peter Parker, Iron Man.
I was sitting there.
Wolverine, he was flying around.
I told you that none of these people are actual superheroes in other places besides this universe. There's some nods. There's like an almost Batman character, but he's not Batman.
Dude, there
to
were
be
aliens.
fair, I watched like a minute of this show.
You just looked at color schemes, which
True.
And Kelsey was sitting around. She's like, I don't see the difference.
That's a colorblindness?
I'm not making
Is that
fun
what
of
it is?
I think it may be. Oh, no.
Oh no!
That's
Can
another
you
point
paint
against her.
with the three colors of the wind?
You took my song.
Shout,
Come on.
shout out
his.
shout out to Kelsey. But Invincible will be a really good show for people that like the animation style of, say, like Young Justice. I feel like those animation styles are pretty similar, except you take Young Justice and you crank that gore up to where the Young Justice might have been at a 2. You take that and crank it up to 700.
The body count is steep.
It's there.
And I only watched a little bit of it with you, and there were like 3 different alien invasions in like a very small amount of time. So
Yep, and they were dealing with interdimensional beings that their time that they operate in are. I mean, it's going to be in a different type of tachyon than what our universe has. So when they get here, if they don't have something to balance that, they were dying.
they were aging and
Yeah.
dying. They were aging really fast.
Yeah.
And this was all just kind of superficial stuff. Like, it's just stuff that they had to know to beat them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was nuts though, because they ended up going back to their planet, and what it was like 3 days on Earth time was approximately like 35, 40 years in their time.
And
So
this is just a tiny part of one episode. Like, it's just
Yeah.
a little thing that's going on. It's like
it's
chaotic.
It's very well done. It's very descriptive. It's very, confusing right now, just because I did just start it, and I'm sure the story's going to start to unravel a little bit more. But I'm in there for it. I'm here for it, as the kids say.
the brutality that's shown in it's become a whole lot more like of a thing with superhero stories. Like, it's been a thing with comics for a while, because Invincible and Jupiter's Legacy, both comic books already. The Boys was already a comic book, but seeing it on the screen in the way that they show it, because DC and Marvel have this line that they don't cross, and these more independent comics, like with Image Comics, like that's what Invincible's from, like they can get a whole lot worse when it comes to what they show is happening to these characters.
And I think that for someone like me, that's like, I don't know, it's better for me to get into it that way. Like, because I kind of grew out of the superhero stuff. I still appreciate it for the mythology aspect of it, but I'm just not like all into it. But then I see The Boys and then things like Invincible, and I'm just like, I'm back there like I was when I was a kid. Like, oh my God, superheroes are awesome.
That brings
So much blood.
But hold on. Can we not use the phrase grew out of superheroes?
He did, though.
He used that.
I mean,
I don't
though.
feel like that it is an age required
I don't
thing.
think so either. It's just me
I
personally.
mean, you can move past, but
Yeah.
to grow out of,
I
I'm
got
like,
disinterested in.
okay.
We'll say that.
I can
got
accept that
disinterested
terminology
in it.
more than grew out of.
Yeah.
I think that what these shows provide is a fresh perspective, like The Boys and Jupiter's Legacy and Invincible. They've got a uniqueness to them.
Yeah.
that we haven't really seen a whole lot of, except for if, the original Ninja Turtles were like that. They were straight up slicing and dicing, and it wasn't just pizza. But then you've got these people that are those line crossers. It's like more realistic to me.
Absolutely.
Because to me, you have, and that's one of the moral dilemmas you're running into with a lot of these superheroes who are killing. It's, well, why are you doing that? Well, you're taking us and holding us to a different standard than we hold anybody to, period, because we think that everybody's going to kill everybody else. You don't want us to try to kill you back? Like, what are we supposed to do about this? But they don't break the code yet.
Well, yeah, but I mean, real life doesn't have a TV rating. So in these shows that are rated R, they're very mature audiences need to be watching them. That's where that real life aspect comes into it, because like there are no rules in this world like that we live in. So if these characters existed here, you would be seeing that kind of gruesome stuff that you're seeing in the show. So I think there's more connection there, I think.
And I mean, you're looking at these superhuman beings that are capable of picking up cars with their hand. Not hands, plural, hand, singular. They're capable of picking up a car in their hand. You don't think if they smacked you across the face that your face would go flying? Like, that's the stuff that they're showing in this, and it's pretty awesome.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Because, well, they have all these things that are happening, like all these lasers and stuff going off, and instead of like people getting hit with it and it being like, psst, oh, it's so much more realistic, even in a cartoon, just to see somebody getting hit with a high-powered laser and it just melting through them. Oh, and it's such good sounds and everything too.
Plus, why wouldn't we want a realistic take on like the human psychology of someone who was capable of something like that, like those powers that they have? Why wouldn't we want to like explore what that would do to a human mind in a realistic adult way?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's coming up movie here in a couple years where he plays Black Adam. I meant to get to this in a previous podcast, but I kind of cut myself off because of the way that my brain operates, and it's so the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to play Black Adam, and Black Adam is under that exact same problem because he's given powers as an adult, and his viewpoint on that becomes a very anti-hero's perspective because he's doing what he feels is for the betterment of man and his country, but it's crossing lines all the time. Those lines that everybody else feels should be moral lines not to cross. He feels like, I'm powered by the gods. That's what sustains me. Does that not make me a god myself? So he kind of gets into that. So that's what my kind of take on it would be if you had somebody that was, say, our age that decided they'd take a boat into the middle of nowhere and not spoil anything. So.
Well, Marcus, you mentioned like why aren't we doing this more? Like, it's exciting they're doing that now.
Absolutely.
I think it doesn't need to happen more for sure, but they need to also pay attention to doing the opposite at a same rate for kids, because the younger audience still needs the superhero genre just like we did whenever we were younger.
Sure. Well, I don't think Marvel's going anywhere anytime soon.
No,
So
but but this trend, it's a very popular trend as of late, especially. And I think like TV wise is mainly what I mean. Like, because comics, yeah, they're going to be there, but a lot of kids, like, they're like adults. I mean, everybody's watching these shows. Like, a lot of people don't know that Jupiter's Legacy was a comic or Invincible was a comic. Because not many people are reading them compared to, being one of the most watched TV shows on streaming services, period.
Yeah, so it's good for these independent comic.
It's very good for the
producers.
independent comics. Yeah, absolutely. But I think that the ones that aren't as violent and are a little bit more on the surface still need a lot of effort still needs to be put into those. And I'm afraid that the amount of money that's coming from these gruesome, like adult comic book shows and stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Speaking of those,
Yeah, right. Those.
my next recommendation
that.
is going to be the Netflix original series, Castlevania.
So good.
So good. Do watch it. It's gory. It's got some boobies, but not like most animes do, to
No
where it's
pain,
just like
though.
that's the main focus of the whole thing is the fact that it's got boobs, like jelly in the wind or something. I don't know.
No pain.
Absolutely zero.
I don't think so. I'm just saying.
Maybe an outline of one.
Yeah, maybe. But
I mean, who really wants to see an anime peen anyway?
I'm just saying.
I mean,
plenty of people.
We
Peens look
cannot
like Sloth
speak
from the
for the
Goonies.
masses
Plenty of people.
on what they do and do not want to see. Sometimes women want to see pain.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but have you ever stopped and thought, wow, a peen looks a lot like Sloth from the Goonies?
Not mine.
No, they shouldn't do that, Tiny. We gotta go. We gotta go to the hospital now.
I mean,
It's
they
just-
do.
it-
I'm
Hold
just
on.
saying, I want some representation of, the nasty that is the boys.
Well, and also, if it sounds like Sid from Ice Age when you pee, you should probably go too, because that's not.
Yeah, you need to look
Wait.
into that. Please look into
Mine
that.
isn't supposed to do that. I thought that was completely normal.
I thought you got that piercing taken out. The
did
last
take it
show
out.
that I want to recommend is the HBO show called Stargirl, which I watched on HBO. It's actually, I think, a CW show. Thoroughly enjoyed that as well, as far as like a different kind of a wholesome take on superhero stuff. That's a pretty wholesome take on superhero stuff. What you got? What?
I had like half a burrito stuck between two of my teeth. I've been like trying this entire time to get it out, and I finally got it.
Gross.
I know.
So gross. On the theme of a more adult content in entertainment, my topic this evening is Ninja Sex Party.
Nice.
Yay!
Now, for many that don't know what that is and might think, ooh, Dane, should you be talking about something so naughty on such a podcast? It's a band, guys. Chill out. It's okay. It's
I
fine.
thought this was a party you was throwing.
Well, no. I mean,
I
we
was
could.
so excited all of a
could.
sudden.
You could. They would be very happy if that were a thing. But
They could play the music at the party.
so Ninja Sex Party is a band that they are a comedic band, and the two members in it are Danny Sexbang and Ninja Brian. Those are their personas that are in it, and it's actually Dan Avidan or Avidan, whichever you want to say it, and then Ninja Brian is Brian Wecht, and Wecht, Wecht. Yeah, name
Get whacked.
get Wecht.
Oh,
exactly.
That sounds like a really bad reading of like the old Super Soaker commercials. Like, don't get whacked, get soaked.
I'm surprised they don't have a song called Super Soaker with very, very many innuendos involved in it.
Long shot. They heard this, and then they write a song about don't get whacked,
Hey,
get
man.
soaked.
It's coming. It's going to happen.
I know that's what the
That's
song is
what
going
it's
to be
about.
all
yeah,
about.
we all know that. Ninja Sex Party started in 2009, and they have been pumping out music ever since. They got 5 original albums and 3 cover albums. And in those cover albums, the names of the albums are called Under the Covers, because pretty much every song they've made on their original albums, they're all really funnily sex related, because it's all to such an extreme that it's very humor based, like a very unsuccessful attempt at finding these sexcapades, and one where they're blasting off into the year 6969.
Go and have
Nice.
the speed of Brian.
Yes, bingo. and they have 50 music videos, like almost 50 music videos for all these songs that they have made on YouTube. That you can watch them all on YouTube, and they range from the most low budget that you can imagine. They've got this mannequin doll of Danny Sexbang that they're just throwing around, making it like in place of him in moments to where he has to do something crazy. And they range from that all the way to very high production animated music videos, to where they are very impressive, to where sometimes you get lost in the visuals and then you realize, oh wait, this song's about something absolutely ridiculous, as far as like a mansion party, to where these pandas end up in a fight and break loose, and now they're like rampaging through the mansion party, killing all the guests. And the song, as it progresses through it, it becomes more about escaping the mansion party because you don't want to be mauled by these pandas. And it's there. It's just think like you've talked about Tenacious D in the past.
Yes.
Austin. And then there's also like Weird Al Yankovic and The Lonely Island.
I miss The Lonely Island.
Lonely Island,
Flight
amazing.
Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords,
Yes.
yes.
Rhett and
This
Link.
time.
Rhett and Link from the Ear Biscuits podcast.
And YouTube.
And the YouTubes. But they are, while they're singing these like really funny, ridiculous songs, it's done really well. Like, because like throughout most of their albums that they've made, that were the original albums, Ninja Brian was the musician for like every instrument like in the songs. I think for at least the first 3 albums, I think. But they're just so well done, and Dan has an amazing voice. And you're thinking, while you're listening to him, you're going like, man, why aren't they making just quote unquote normal music, while you're listening to all this funny stuff? But I think they wouldn't stand out as much as they do because there's a lot of talent. I mean, talent is everywhere. And I think that they would blend in to more of that without doing this style because they own like this genre of where they land in it.
Well, and they're also doing something that they enjoy and something that they love,
Yes.
So why would you want to, pigeonhole yourself into making quote unquote normal music when the funny stuff can be just way more fun?
Yes.
I don't think Billie Eilish was worried about making normal music.
Plus, they probably still make music other than that,
Well, they do the under the
but they
covers
just don't
stuff.
release it.
I'm sure, but they like the under the covers albums. Those are all cover albums for like 70s, 80s music, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they do a great job of all these covers. Like there's a few songs they do that I prefer their versions over, the originals, which is probably a sin in itself. But I just enjoy their personalities so much also, because you get a whole lot more of like Dan's actual personality of who he is as an actual, Dan Avidan, the person, in a show called Game Grumps, and that's on YouTube, and he does it with Aaron Hansen. It's a Let's Play channel, basically, where these two guys, they just play video games, and they'll play through a whole game sometimes, like from beginning to end, and they're just talking to each other throughout the whole thing, and they're both so entertaining that it's just it's a different level of just watching gameplay, like because you're not there for the game. The game doesn't matter. Sometimes they purposely play the worst games they can possibly find, but they are so entertaining that you just want to sit there and watch the whole playthrough. But Dan, he said in a few episodes back of the Game Grumps, he said his character of Danny Sexbang from Ninja Sex Party, it's always been just this ridiculous, like I said, sexcapade character. But he said he sees himself starting to blend into that character. and some people took that as like, oh, are you becoming more of this insane person? He's like, no. Like Danny Sexbang is becoming more like him, Dan Avidan, because he's got a song called Danny, Don't You Know?
I've been singing that in my head the whole time you've been talking
so
about it.
amazing. And actually, I will play a clip of that right now so everybody else can hear what that sounds like.
Inside, you're just going through an awkward phase from 12 to 29. Daddy, don't you know that everyone feels weird on the inside? Daddy, don't you know? 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 Daddy, don't you know?
And it's got the kid from Stranger Things, one of the
Yes.
actors in it, playing a young him, and he's like going back in time and appearing as this, awesome rock star, and just basically telling his awkward young self, like, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna become me one day.
Yes.
You've got it, kid. You're
Yes.
gonna be okay.
And
it's
it's
such a cool concept.
Yeah,
cool
and
video.
It's made for nerds. It's like the song was made for young nerds that are they're so self-conscious about who they are. And it's like, man, you're amazing and you're going to be amazing. And whatever you're going through now, it's weird, And he even talks in it about you may be 35, but by the time you realize like how amazing you are, but it's going to come. And that song would have never happened if not for the bleeding into. And I think that's part of where they're maybe wanting to make some things that are a little bit more serious, maybe just a touch more, but still within their same realm of the.
Well, and
the
it's funny. It's funny that comedy is accepted in all mediums mostly, except for music. Well, I mean, it's not that it's not accepted in music, but it's like you said, and I would kind of put it the same way. Even though Tiny got onto me for putting it in a certain way, the other,
we won't talk about that.
About growing out of things and stuff. But I don't know. It's interesting that people kind of see comedy music as not real music,
right?
Or it's like not serious music,
right?
But why can't you can still get some like pretty hefty messages across.
Absolutely, yeah. Smack that,
I was
boy.
about to say,
Smack
buddy.
it.
Messages.
Pretty happy messages.
Yeah, you can get those messages across in comedy.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a part in Danny Don't You Know in that song because like the first few times I had heard it, because I mean it struck a chord with me just because I've
Absolutely.
always been like this and I will always be like this.
F sharp.
F sharp. Bingo. That's me. That's the chord that it struck.
Figured.
But it goes into this a cappella part where it's just telling him he's the star tonight, and it's just like my eyes started tearing up when I heard it the first few times because I was like, geez, man, like there's just so much heart in that part of that song that like the whole thing is just so, I don't know, it's magic.
It is pretty
It is
epic.
a magic, epic song.
You know, I could see you actually singing to your younger self that exact same way, just letting him know that everything's going to be fine and you love him and everything else. And then it's not even your younger self, and you're just in some kid's bedroom.
It's
I
just
get that
singing to a
reminds
kid.
me of you so much.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to be great. Get out of there. Who are you?
My name's not Danny. My name's Cheryl.
Oh man, they actually have a song called "It's Bedtime," and it's where it's Danny Sexbang singing to this kid about like how it's bedtime, and he's singing him a lullaby, and it's like demons screaming and like Satan ripping, just shredding on a guitar, and him telling him these crazy animal facts, like how venomous snakes can open doors, and does he know where meat comes from, and all this stuff. But the song is so catchy and sounds so good, and it's just that part of just ridiculous lyrics that are still clever, like in their own way and the way they're written, but it's just so absurd, but just so musically just talented, like in the way that they do it and how good of a singer he is. But
The animation for that video is also
it's
very
amazing.
good.
They've gotten some amazing animators to do all that.
What's the one where he brings that girl home, but he's like still living with his parents?
Yes. Welcome to my parents' house. And it's a song about him meeting a girl in the club, and they're like clicking, connecting and stuff. And he's like, let me take you back to my place. And she's totally down for it. And they get back there, and it's his parents' house. So he's telling her how he's got all these free snackies laid out for him and how his grandma's basset hound is there. And then by the end of the song, he's yelling at his dad because he like went down and ate all the ham in the fridge, and he said he wouldn't. And it falls apart like towards the end of it. And if you've never heard of Ninja Sex Party, YouTube is probably going to be the best place to listen to them right now, because to see those music videos, because you guys, I let you listen to them while watching those videos, and those stick in your head.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
They'll stick in your head a lot more than just the songs will the first time you hear them. So I think watching those videos, because you will go down a rabbit hole. There's almost 50 of them.
they're meant to be watched. I mean, they're meant to
Yeah.
be with a video, I think. A lot of it.
So
Also-
somebody made a video that was meant to be watched?
No.
Whoa.
Well, they've made music with a video in mind.
Yes.
Well, also, if you try to search them through any other website, be very careful. You will get things that you probably should never be seen by another person.
Always click on the first link, because
The
if you go to
first
like
one.
the 5th page of Google when you type that in, who knows what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly,
It's scary down
ninjas attacked in the silence, and they also maintained their assassin-like nature by not being noticed. So I don't know how you'd feel about watching that kind of video anyway.
Surprise!
They're also, Dan and Brian both are in a band with Aaron Hansen that I mentioned from the Game Grumps show. that's called Starbomb, and every one of their songs is like video game related, like either from the viewpoint of characters. They've got one to where it's a game show called like Simple Plot Lines, like of games, and so they've got these like characters like Mrs. Pac-Man. Like she's just like, I'm Pac-Man with a bow, and that's it. That's all the plot is, and then the crowd claps, and then it gets to Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh no!
And Dan is like the host of that game show, and he's just losing his mind because Sora is just singing on and on and on about how convoluted that storyline is for it. And those are the kind of songs that Starbomb does, to where it's things from like Luigi's perspective where he wants Peach, but Mario is just a super jerk that keeps taking her from him because he's too scared to talk up about it. So Starbomb is a really good place to go next. Like if you want still more of that NSP like fix, Starbomb is a pretty fun place to go after that. And one last little fact, just to throw it in there, Ninja Brian Wecht, formerly was a theoretical physicist who quit his job as a professor to like be full-time with Ninja Sex Party.
That's so cool.
And that is like the definition of just following your dreams no matter where you are currently. Because Tiny and I had a long conversation today while I was at work about like being a kid, being like as an older person, like age, that part doesn't matter, man. Like if you want to make songs that are about just goofy stuff, do it. Like do it just whenever you feel like it.
You may be more likely to invent time travel if you do the music part instead of being the theoretical physicist.
That's true.
Just saying.
Music can travel through time.
Music
Absolutely.
make you lose control.
Say.
I often think of how I could travel through time, like music.
If I could turn back time,
Find a way, right?
I wasn't necessarily trying to transition.
oh my god!
Why? You need to accidentally transition all the time, man. It was too good.
That's the only reason I threw it in.
There was an ant just having a heyday across my microphone.
How do you know it wasn't an uncle?
I didn't leg check. All I know is I leaned back so it wouldn't go in my beard.
Ooh.
That just seems like the worst thing ever.
Marcus, you did a great transition. Let's keep with it.
We can.
Okay.
We can.
Listen to NSP.
Just
there.
edit it. Yeah.
Here's the end of mine.
There you go. So I guess my topic's just generally about time travel. For me, it's always been one of those concepts that in sci-fi and fantasy that if you get right, it can make your story so cool and has all these possibilities with things, of a more emotional nature too. But then it's so hard to pull off a story like that it can be really bad too. And it even potentially ruin your entire story. So I was just curious as to maybe some examples of where you think the time travel was so cool, added so much to the story, and maybe an example of the opposite. I don't know. Because you can go first if you
I've
want.
got an example of all of that in the same movie.
Oh boy.
I believe it was called like The Time Machine. It's like the newest one.
Bill and Ted?
Okay, made based off the novel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, the novel was
No,
really
Hot Tub
good.
Time Machine.
Oh, okay.
Great. But no, it's like from classic literature. I think it's just called The Time Machine.
It's called The Time Machine.
Yeah, it's like the entire plot of the movie is him traveling through time on this one planet, which sounds amazing, and it leads to some cool stuff, but also it ruins everything because you're like, I get really invested in this one little section. Okay, now I'm just going to hop and skip and jump to over here.
Yeah, it never really explains
And
anything, does it?
There's nothing cohesive.
There really isn't. I've seen the movie. The book is better.
Oh, I assume it is.
It's been a while since I've read it. But I don't know. It's kind of the same. You kind of just see some weird things and then you come back.
But is that a successful way of doing it? Because you're not trying too hard to make it make sense. You're letting it just be weird and wild and jumping around the place, like as opposed to trying to make it scientifically, you use quotes again, like we've done a lot this episode, correct, because time travel is just a theory, at this point. So I don't know. Does it seem like that to where they didn't want to get themselves pigeonholed into these into this trying too hard thing?
I don't know. What would you say? I would say it just seemed like with the movie, they just wanted to have like these cool dark elves underground at one point.
Yeah.
They wanted to like have a romance on the side of a mountain, like in this little like hut built into the side of a mountain. It just seemed like, I don't know, they wanted to add all these concepts but not explain any of them.
Yeah, it was just different ideas, just kind of just spattered about in a movie. Mm-hmm. Kind of like having Taco Bell late at night.
Oh, well, what?
that was the essence of that movie, was Taco Bell
Actually,
after like midnight.
now that I think of it, though, isn't it that he's trying to get back to his lady? Like he just wants to find her.
He
I
can
don't
only go
remember.
forward, never back.
I don't know if that's. I think you might be right, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
He can never go backwards. He can only go forwards. That's all he's got intact.
Am I the only one that hasn't seen the Time Machine?
You're okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Now,
don't
if-
even worry about it.
I'm going to go back in time and watch it so that way I can join you guys
You
in
know,
this conversation.
for its day, it was pretty good graphics wise as far as like seeing that time machine, how it worked.
Yeah, the effects were really cool, but that was about it.
So yeah, I guess in the Time Machine, he just travels further and further into the future.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah, I think he had the theory that if he went far enough forward that it would double back.
Yeah, because then you got like the mole people that humans evolved into versus the normal humans, and that was all weird. Then you had the vampire humans that feasted upon the mole people and they controlled the normal humans because they were the vampires and they were advanced in intellectuals and.
I'm into this.
I mean, why are you?
Yeah,
why are
man.
you describing what is happening under my bed?
And all of this is bred from a colony. They call it Converse.
Well,
It's just a tube
just
sock.
the tube sock.
Yeah.
Just a single ringed tube sock.
I wish I knew what mechanism the Time Machine. Since it was the example we kind of went with, I kind of figured we'd end up at Back to the Future at some point.
Nah.
Which I can describe the mechanics of the time travel there, but I can't really describe the mechanics of the time travel in the Time Machine. Anyway,
I think it had something to do with like electromagnetism, because like the rings would spin and it would create like this force field that radiated out that caused everything to move through time and space.
Okay, makes sense. Well, just since I mentioned it and you said no, I'm gonna go forward with it anyway. So Back to the Future, I think it's like that. It's like the grandfather paradox kind of thing. So it's like if he doesn't do the mission, he's gonna like not exist anymore.
Yes.
I don't know. I just think that's interesting because there are different examples in other things where they use a different kind of rule set to limit the time travel.
Because I think that Back to the Future is one of the only time travel instances that uses a linear storyline for it. Not like it makes it like every time you've jumped to a different, like it's actually affecting the future every time he goes to the past, as opposed to it creating, like here's an alternate timeline and this and that. It doesn't go into that.
Well,
Right,
it
Back to the
does.
Future.
And I think it was the second one where he created a time paradox, because Doc draws this graph on this chalkboard. He's like, here's where the timeline's skewed, and made Biff like Donald Trump. So
Yeah, I
they did
know.
go into that.
But that was a paradox, though. I'm talking like how they have multi-universal theories going on within that.
Oh,
though.
okay. I misunderstood what you were saying.
well, like Dark kind of went into that in the third season.
So I've been told.
Yeah. But see, Dark, they kind of just went all in with the time travel tropes. Like they did it all. Like they did the grandfather. They studied all about how time travel's been used in fiction over the years, and they did it all and more. So yeah, I don't know. I really like how Lost did it. I know I'm a huge Lost fan, and people can talk all the crap they want, but Lost was ahead of
how
its
you
time,
have to
dude.
defend it every time you
Oh, yeah.
start talking about Lost.
Look,
It's
none
just
of us
because I'm
here are
here.
gonna, downgrade you except
will.
for him,
Well,
because I love Lost as well.
But we put this show on the internet.
Ooh, we do.
But nobody listens
False.
So
except for Jaden.
So-
What's up, buddy?
So in Lost, you have this kind of whatever happened kind of thing. So it's like if you go back in the past, you always did. So, there would be scenes that we would revisit in season 5 that were happening in like season 1 and 2. And so, but when you go back and watch season 1 and 2 and you see those scenes as a veteran viewer, in your head someone's watching in the woods right now.
That's cool.
From the
Yeah.
from another timeline. I don't know. I think that's really cool, and I still kind of want to hear some examples of
Well, yeah,
where
we
y'all think
can't-
time travel was. Oh, they also have consciousness traveling. But go ahead and do what you were going to do.
Have
Tommy.
you seen 11/22/63?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I've seen part of the show, but I've read the book, and the book is amazing.
That's what I've heard.
Boiling it down, there's a thin spot in our world that brings you back into, I believe it was 1952. It always takes you to the specific day and specific time. And the main character is going back in time to stop the JFK assassination because the man who originally found this doorway through time determined that a lot of the things going on negatively in our world is a result of JFK not being there. So he has to go back and try to change things, but as he tries to change things, the timeline resists the change. So there's always something kind of catastrophic that occurs around him,
Like the
to
ripple
stop
effect
him.
or
Yeah,
something.
to stop him from making the change. And if he doesn't do it exactly right, it can be detrimental. And so he goes back initially to test this one thing because it happened like a week in. Because every time he goes back into the portal, it's like hitting the reset button. What he changed doesn't happen. So he has to do everything perfectly.
Oh no!
And then exit and then never go back in.
Ooh, I don't like that.
See, we've done a lot of time travel talk, but haven't mentioned Doctor Who yet, which is my favorite time travel thing ever. And Austin, you got in on the Doctor Who train for a while, and you loved it too. Yes?
I don't want to go.
See, oh, so sad. But and Doctor Who, the British TV show,
It's just not safe.
they bounce around all through history and come in contact with a lot of big historical events, or just some different ones. Like, I mean, even Vincent Van Gogh, or Van Gogh, as they call him, because I think that's the actual way you're supposed to say it. But anyway, who cares? You know what I'm talking about. They go back, and that episode stands out in my mind because, like, what happens to Van Gogh happens to him no matter what. Like, he ends up dying, and like very early. And I think the theory is it was self-induced or some kind of thing like that. But in that episode, they go back and meet him and see him like doing his paintings and everything. And in Van Gogh's life, he never became popular while he was living. All of his popularity came long after he was gone. So they take him and bring him into the future to an actual like Van Gogh exhibit, to where there's this expert walking around like pointing at all the paintings and talking about it, and he is looking at Van Gogh like a guest, you know, in the museum, and explaining to him how much of a genius and how he is the most prolific artist of all time.
That's
and
really
he's
cool.
telling it to the artist that was always looked at as an insane person, because of the way he painted and just kind of the way he was obsessed with all that. And the doctor was kind of hoping like, hey, maybe this will be enough to not make you want to do that eventually, because they know what happens to him. But it ends up happening anyway. And a lot of times, actually through everything, like, it always ends up happening the way it has to happen. Because like you mentioned in that one, like when he goes back, something is always happening differently to where JFK still gets assassinated. Like, no matter what, it was still happening unless he does something perfect or whatever.
Well, he can actually force the change, but he has to fight through it.
Gotcha. See, with this, the doctor most of the time is trying to make sure that this thing does happen, like, because to keep time working the way it's supposed to work. Those events, these catastrophic things, sometimes, like Pompeii. Whenever Pompeii went under like lava or whatever, where it was just like completely demolished, he was just trying to get some of those people to like understand like this is coming. And it was going to happen. I mean, but it was one of those things like, if you can save a couple, like, that'll be worth it. And he does. Like, there's a couple that he saves and everything, but it's always, I don't know, the big event always ends up happening the way it's supposed to happen in our history.
Like a course correction.
Right.
Like time course corrects itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Why this face? Why this face?
Yes. Ugh. Oh, yeah. And all the actors that play the Doctor are just, it's phenomenal. Like,
let me do my Lost point real quick,
Yeah,
and
do
then
it.
I want to hear if you have any favorites, Austin. But in Lost, there was this episode called, I think, Flashes Before Your Eyes, where this character Desmond is
Oh, such a good episode.
actually, and maybe The Constant is really one that I'm talking about, I think, because his consciousness from like 1992 and his consciousness as an older man in 2004, trapped on the island, literally switch. So 1992 Desmond is in 2004 Desmond's body. And like, yeah, it's out there, it's weird, but it's like that's one of the big draws for me to Lost, is that they did all this really cool, like these cool time travel concepts in like just a mainstream like ABC show, you know?
Yeah. That's really neat.
Yeah, it is.
Man, every time we talk about Lost, it makes me want to watch it.
Well, it's definitely the episode I'm talking about is literally one of the most widely acclaimed of the whole entire series.
Yeah, yeah. And just hearing that makes me want to watch it.
Yeah,
That right with it. No,
and it's amazing. Well,
it
it's great.
doesn't. I
Well, it
have
should.
no interest in watching it again. I
Oh, you've seen
skimmed
it?
through it the
Okay,
first
you've seen
time
it.
because that's all the attention I could pay to it.
That's fine.
That's where you
That's
messed up.
fine.
is
Nope,
you
nope. You're not.
skimmed.
You're not telling
Well, that's
me
why
what to
I'm
do.
here to
Neither
tell you
one
the
of
highlight. I'm here to tell you the highlights of it.
You're not going to tell me what to do. And my favorite time travel experience that I ever had was watching the animated film The Land Before Time, because I got to travel back and see dinosaurs. Sup, bro?
Oh, you can do better than that.
No, that's
no,
all you
we
get.
can't.
Time travel's awesome. We need more of it in our fiction.
Okay.
But be careful. Please be careful using time travel in your fiction, because
Yes.
it can be done so poorly and it
Yeah.
just takes you completely.
You really
out
got
of
to figure out the rules of it first.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about time travel.
it.
At
Make
some
your
other
own
point.
rules to it. Maybe it's better.
See, now this is really hard to segue out of because of everything that just happened. But 11/22/63 ties into my topic. And my topic is the Stephen King multiverse. Most people don't realize that he has a multiverse. Arguably the largest multiverse written by a single author. And the best part is it all started as fan theory, because Mr. King enjoys putting little Easter eggs in various novels. Some overlaps are way more blatant than others.
How does he get the book to close if he's sticking eggs in them?
Very carefully. First, you iron them flat. And so after all of, all the fan theories, because if you sit and you make a diagram of how everything interconnects, it's incredibly tightly woven. You can Google images of where people have done this, and it's insane. It's very hard to follow. But that being said, he read these theories, and he liked it so much that he canonized it in I think it was the beginning of the 5th book of the Dark Tower. In the foreword, he said, "Yes, this is a thing. Yes, it's a multiverse. Booyah." So, which to me is pretty awesome. So I'm just going to kind of lay out some of
it's
the
awesome.
basic cosmology of Stephen King's multiverse.
Wait, what cosmology?
Yeah, I was about to ask too. I
Give
mean,
me a definition. Use it in a sentence
Kind
as
of
well.
like cosmology is kind of like the background of the genesis of the cosmos.
right, like the study of like the structure of the universe in a sense.
Where Phil Collins' band was formed.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just going to read it as I have it on here. In the beginning, there was a magical presence known as the Prim, also referred to as the darkness behind everything, out of which rose Gon. When all world was created, Gon appeared in a metaphysical form as a giant edifice known as the Dark Tower, alongside 6 beams that are protected by 12 guardians. One of the guardians is Maturin. He is the turtle. Basically, he had a stomach ache and vomited out the universe. The universe he vomited out contained Keystone Earth, which is where we exist. Keystone Earth, like I said, is a reflection of the real world. And it also houses a fictional version of Stephen King himself. So the logical conclusion of that is when he's in the universe, he's still writing the books of the universe. So the universe is creating itself inside of it. So that ties even us in the real world into the Stephen King multiverse.
Oh man, so that's one of those scenarios to where you're like sitting in the fitting room and you see yourself in the mirror, and behind you there's another mirror, and you see yourself seeing yourself for infinity.
Yes.
But it's always him at a typewriter and just insane ideas going on in his head.
Pretty much.
Tell me one more time about the turtle that vomits the universe.
Yes, please. One more
the
time,
turtle
please.
basically had a stomach ache and vomited our universe into existence.
And where do we
And,
tie?
and Stephen King wrote this down.
Yeah, it's in the foreword, and some of it's kind of pieced together here and there throughout the Dark Tower series and other novels. So
Okay.
this is kind of all compressed together.
So that turtle is like a character,
yes,
like a mythological character.
yes, and he actually appears in several novels, including It. If you actually read the novel, he is the brother of It.
Whoa, huh? Hold on.
Yes,
The turtle that vomited up us
yes,
is the brother of it,
yes.
the clown man,
Yeah,
that
'cause
wants to kill me.
Because he
Yes.
consumes us.
So one creates us, the other consumes us.
Yes, pretty much.
So is it's just like a form that it
It
takes?
is another primordial being from
Why does he dress like a
what
clown?
does he call it? Like the macroverse.
Kids.
It's not that he's a clown. He embodies your fear, and that's what feeds him. So he's not actually a clown, but for a lot of people, they're afraid of clowns, like
Okay.
that man over there.
Now me.
So he appears to him as his fear.
Okay. This is starting to make more sense. And this is because I watched, I mean, obviously it's probably, not word for word like the book, but
Right.
what's that new HBO show?
Lost.
Castle
No.
Rock,
It's the HBO. Oh, God. Austin.
I guess all roads
Castle
don't lead-
Rock, Under the Dome,
Watchmen.
Full Dark, No Stars. I think they made that into a
Nosferatu.
I'll think of it in
It's
a minute.
Nosferatu.
Okay.
Snyder
Well, I was
Cut.
naming Stephen King stuff,
Me too.
but no,
Yes, Nosferatu.
that's his son.
That's his son, Joe Hill. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, kind of his. But
Hey,
not
Joe
really.
Hill exists in the Stephen King universe, right?
Yes.
So everything he writes is technically part of the Stephen King universe. Technically, everything that has been made in our realm is part of the Stephen King universe.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually wrong.
So-
I just found a way to bring myself to being right.
Stephen King's found a way to claim like
Everything.
rights to every fictional thing ever written.
Yeah. Let's see, where was I?
The Outsider.
The universe is the location of Keystone Earth. Okay, I've already read that. Some people have the ability to travel between universes by going Todash. That's the word he uses. I know it's a funky word.
Todash?
Yeah,
One word?
Todash. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't make it up.
It's where you have to walk, how you just
like you
walk
dash
on your
your toe.
toes. Yeah,
Yeah,
tippy toes. You
pretty
can
much.
only travel through universes on your tippy toes.
Yes. Some people can do it naturally. Some people have to use different artifacts.
Like
sprinkled
ballerina
throughout.
shoes. Yeah.
No. Like the Wizard's Rainbow, the Talisman, or Lil Pink, which they're in different books.
Hold on.
What's
Sorry, I thought you meant Lil Kim.
No.
Like for some reason in my head, I heard Lil Pink. I was like, wait. You got to bring Lil Kim along with you.
No.
I ain't going.
See, Mr. King wrote a book for, I believe it was Amazon. And in the book, Amazon messes up and sends the wrong tablet to this guy. He gets a pink one, and he's like, well, I'll keep it anyway. And he's able to use that to actually go into different worlds and universes. And it's pink, so he names it Lil Pink.
whoa? So the book. Hold on. Wait. Stephen King wrote a book for Amazon, the company,
Yes.
to be printed.
To be put solely on their
In the real.
e-reader
Like this was
device.
made in the real, yes?
In the real world, yes.
And this person received a pink in the story.
In
a
the
person
story,
received a
yes.
Okay. Whoa, that's pretty meta for
Yeah.
Okay.
He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, on porpoise.
On purpose.
It's a book about
So these
dolphins.
are the Easter eggs. that you're
Yes.
discussing.
Kinda.
Okay.
that's just different ways people have traveled through the various universes. There's also like thin spots, like I said, 11/22/63. They're called thinnies because, well, it's a thin spot between two different universes or dimensions. There are magical doorways, like in the Drawing of the Three, that open and allow you into some other place.
Narnia.
Sure. Like in the Talisman, you have a twin in this other universe that's known as your twinner. You know, it's your doppelganger. So some people whose twinner has died, they can actually travel to the place where their twin should be and can function as their twin in that other world. There's some others, but there's a lot, and I'm not going to go into all of them. Each beam, the Dark Tower is not only gone in the universe, it's also the central linchpin of all the universes, and that is in All World, which is the world of the Dark Tower.
You said all, A-L-L?
Yes. All World is comprised of in-world, mid-world, and out-world. Kind of based on Lord of the Rings. So he took some, elements as inspiration for his universe. Mm-hmm. And actually one of the Guardians he named after Aslan in Narnia.
Nice.
And he's the lion. He's one of the guardians of one of the beams. Each beam, there's 6 beams coming off the tower. They're guarded on each end by a different animal guardian. One beam is the elephant and wolf beam. So they're on opposite ends of that world guarding each end of the beam. So basically, if all the beams fall, then the tower falls. And if the tower falls, everything ceases to be.
Including here.
Including here.
Mm.
Nice.
We must protect the
Which
tower.
kind of ties into the main plot of the Dark Tower series. Roland's goal is not to stop the fall of the tower. If it happens, that's a fantastic side effect. His whole goal and mission is to see the tower, enter it, and see what's in the upper room. That's his only goal.
Nice.
If he saves the world, awesome. If he doesn't, that's awesome too. So he's kind of the unwitting hero, and he travels into various places. He travels to Keystone Earth, like I said, which is where we are. He goes and pulls people from Jerusalem's Lot. There's people from Derry. There's people from Castle Rock. They're all tied in together. So it's very fascinating if you boil it down to that, because reading all the books that I have of him, I can see a lot of the overlaps. And so when I read The Dark Tower, it makes me appreciate that work even more than if I read it by itself.
Right, right.
Yeah, knowing
Well,
that
because
there's
it's
a
like
whole
little
universe.
offshoots. Yeah, they're little
Yeah.
offshoots of that world.
Yeah, like Hearts in Atlantis. Have y'all seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Anthony Hopkins?
Yes, Anthony Hopkins.
That's a sad movie.
Yes, it's actually a Dark Tower movie as well. Not only because Stephen King existing in the universes, the main character played by Anthony Hopkins, his name is Ted. He is what is known as a breaker. He can use the Shining, which that brings in the Shining. His trick is he can find things, which they can also do that in Dreamcatcher.
I can also do that.
Well, using his powers, he can find things that have been lost, like for good.
Lost from time. Like
Yes.
they will not be found
Yes.
without his ability.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's just one of his abilities among others.
Okay,
Sometimes
cool.
he just knows things. Like he can come in contact with you and just know your innermost thoughts, which happens in the book when he finds the friend of the little boy, her being injured. He knows what the bully does, and he tells the bully, like, hey, I know your dirty secret. And it terrifies the bully and completely, you would assume changes his life. But he's a breaker. And in the universe of the Dark Tower, the breakers are being used by the Crimson King to destroy the beams and destroy everything. Yeah.
So the
And
Dark Tower is at the middle of all of it.
yes, it is the linchpin that holds everything in existence.
But the Dark Tower didn't come out until after the fan theory of all of Stephen King's stuff is connected.
half of the series was already written. He had the first 4 out. He canonized the fan theories in the foreword of book 5, which
pretty awesome.
was,
Yeah.
I believe, if I remember correctly, Song of Susanna.
I mean, because it's almost like he was nodding to that anyway. I mean,
was.
if you put little Easter eggs like that, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Well,
what you're saying.
Yeah,
isn't
he
it?
wasn't intending on building this big multiverse.
But now that's so in.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he?
right. And he did that before it was the super cool thing to do.
Right.
You know, because this started back in the 70s with the Gunslinger, you know, and it just built out from there.
I need to read it. I want to read it.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
The Outsiders, an HBO show, and the kind of bad guy or main villain or whatever in that show kind of reminded me of what you said about it, because in that show they call it like the grief eater, and so it's like it's attracted to human like suffering and grief,
Yeah.
but it's also kind of spoiler, like kind of like a shapeshifter and can kind of appear like someone else.
Yeah. I mean,
It's actually really cool.
that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
But when I was watching that show, I wasn't sitting there thinking that. I mean, it's obviously something that the story itself doesn't explain. But now you've told me about this larger world that exists in, and now there's like no telling what that thing is and where it came from, and it just makes it a lot cooler.
Well, like I said, in it, actually, there's a little poem that goes along with the turtle that kind of explains the turtle. I'm not gonna do that, but anyway, if you want to know what it is, look it up yourself.
You should do it.
But it says that he knows everything because our universe is being transported on his back in this, you know, Stephen
that
King
actually
verse.
comes from a real world.
Yeah,
like,
it's
myth, yeah.
Hindu. It is based on the Hindu religion.
Cool.
Gone. Anyway,
Yeah.
so he's talking to Bill Denbrough, telling him what he needs to do to defeat it. It wasn't just the kids going, oh, well, maybe if we try this, if we love each other enough, he'll just go away. Maturin, which is the turtle's name, actually tells him how to defeat him and says, you know, when they were children, he's gone for now. He'll come back unless you defeat him for good.
You know what's amazing about the Stephen King universe? Nerd It Through the Grapevine is a podcast in the Stephen King universe, technically. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, which means everybody should keep listening to us on Spotify's and on the other ones that you listen to, like iTunes. The one where you can go in there and you can rate things, where you can give them little stars, and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. I don't think there's a 6th star yet, but if there were, you would give us the 6th one, right? So like, go ahead and give us the 5th one. Like, you don't have to do it in 2s. If you're one of those weird people that's like, I don't do odd numbers, even though 5, nothing odd about 5. Just do the 5th star. It's the evenest number of all odd numbers.
It's
so
also curvy.
do
and
that.
Pretty.
It is.
And I hear that
It's a
they're going to
good-looking
make
number.
a 6th star just for us.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were going to make a prequel or a sequel to 5.
Yeah, 6.
5, the sequel.
And also, what you should do is, if you want to check us out on any kind of social media, I would check out Facebook at Nerd Grapevine, Twitter at Nerd Grapevine, a thing that we do on the Instagrams at Nerd Grapevine. Basically, anywhere you want to find us except for our Patreon, it's going to be at Nerd Grapevine. But if you're wanting to check out Patreon, go ahead, get on Patreon, Best Friends, period, Tiny Inc., period, and donate to the podcast if you feel like it. That would be awesome if you did. And that brings us to the very end of everything, where we...
Also, Discord. Look us up on Discord at Nerded Through the Grapevine Podcast. We've got sections for everything. You can find out what we've spoken into being. You can talk to us live, uncut, and uncensored. There's a meme channel. We're working on an OnlyFans, so coming soon.
Are we really?
And hopefully you... I'm just kidding.
That last part was a joke.
Or was it?
Or was it?
I mean, I can do some really good weenus and shoulder hair work. So if that is your shtick, hit up your boy.
Ooh, ow.
Stick up your boy.
Stick up your boy. That's a very bad AC/DC song. So, Tiny, Dane, when life gives you grapes.
I would go back in time and I would go to the part where you said when life gives you grapes, Tiny, and then I would just leave it there and I would hand Tiny this bowl of grapes and I would say, Tiny, it is your turn to answer this question. But that's a different timeline, so that's not the one that we're in.
And I'd feed him to the turtle.
And then he would throw it up, and he would make a whole nother universe.
It's a time loop.
It's a whole time loop. Oh, no.
What?
Everybody, hi, my name's Dane Holland, and I'm the butterfly spandex man for life.
What's the tithing percentage on the Turtle Church again, guys? I just can't quite remember the tithing percentage.